Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Pro Football Net Point Power Rankings and the Pro Football Bias Plus Reports. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there, this is Ben Dickerson, your co-host. Before I start, let me just be clear. This is not a Washington football team hat. This is a Florida State Seminoles hat. Now that I got that out of the way, let's get ready to talk about week 6 and what happened in those games last weekend.
All right, Benny, you're going to get your shot. We're getting ready to go into Ben's weekly review. And I want everybody to stick around. Once we finish that up, we're going to take a look at the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. You can go to Facebook and look at STNPPR to find those rankings. They're there, but you'll see them here. Then we're going to look at the Bias Plus reports, which is our way of utilizing those rankings in the upcoming week's matchups. Again, Ben, I already know my intriguing game of the week.
And I think that's a wonderful thing that you know it ahead of time.
Yes.
But that kind of tells me, and again, I haven't looked at the upcoming schedule for week 7 yet because I've been busy with fantasy. So I'm real clear on who's on bye weeks, but not real clear on some of the matchups. Team-wise, player-wise, yes, team-wise, no. However, I think it's best that I'm like that so that I will be surprised when you tell me who your intriguing game is, and I will also have to come off the top of my head with my picks. By the way, picks last week, I had 10 wins, 4 losses. I thought sincerely that I would have 11 wins and 3 losses. But that Buffalo game, okay, let's get ready to go.
Yeah, baby. And then after the Bias Plus report, we will wrap it up with the Bias Plus Buster of the week. Yes, there was one of those big time last week. And then we'll wrap it up with current events. Again, if you go to the Ben and Barry Facebook page, that's where all the subject matter is located that we will be discussing, and we look forward to your comments. All right, Benny?
All right, let's rock and roll. Week 6 of the 2021 NFL football season started off with a Thursday night game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers came to Philadelphia and beat the Philadelphia Eagles 28-22. Now, before I start, let me say I like Jalen Hurts. You got to be real careful when you talk about the Eagles and you live in Philadelphia, but you're not an Eagles fan. So I'm going to get this out of the way. I like Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a warrior on the field. He does as much as he can to lead the Eagles, but unfortunately, he's too young and too unequipped for the job. Maybe more unequipped than even his youth has anything to do with. I'm pretty confident that he'll get better as far as his skills are concerned, but right now the team and the coaching staff is far too young and too inexperienced. So that's basically what's been their downfall so far. On the positive side, Hurts threw 1 touchdown pass, and he ran for 2 more scores in the second half, and he kept plays alive single-handedly, basically with just his legs, while trying his best to bring the Eagles back from a 28-7 deficit. On the negative side, he threw 1 interception. He got sacked twice. He suffered 5 3-and-outs. Those are resulting punts, okay? And he only completed 12 passes for 115 yards. Subpar, not good. He missed a bunch of throws, and somehow, now let's talk about missing throws. He piled up 95 yards of defensive pass interference penalties. Now you go, oh man, they got 95 yards on pass interference. That's good. No, it's not. Those balls were all underthrown long balls, which has been his problem since the season began. People crying about his long ball throwing, saying he doesn't have the arm. I say he does have the arm, but he doesn't have the mechanics. He doesn't have the anticipation. He's just not good at it. That's all. He's just not good at it. It's something he could get better with. I don't think it's an arm strength problem, but that's just me. Chances are he will continue to chuck and duck and run until his head coach and offensive coordinator realize that in the NFL, you have no run game. If you have no run game or you refuse to establish one, you will be hard pressed to win games. So until they get that through their heads, the Eagles are going to continue on the path that they're already on. Now, you have to have some semblance of a balanced attack on offense to be consistently successful. That's my opinion. I know it's the opinion of others, but I don't speak for others. I only speak for myself. If you want an example, look at the Buccaneers. Brady came out in this game hot. 11 of 12 for 121 and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. He pretty much cruised the rest of the way. He finished the game 34-42 for 297. His main target was Antonio Brown. He got 13 targets. That's a lot of balls thrown your way, Antonio. That's a good thing. You are back. He caught 9 of them for 93 yards, and he scored a touchdown. And then there was every down workhorse, Leonard Fournette. This team has gone from a running back committee to a 1-2 punch to a bell cow workhorse running back situation, and that is Leonard Fournette. He had 22 carries, 81 yards, 2 scores, and he caught 6 balls for an additional 46. So you don't need a third down back in this offense. That's some balance for you. Okay. All right. Here we go. That was Thursday night. So starting off Sunday over in England, Miami at Jacksonville. So even though they were in England, Jacksonville was considered the home team. Jacksonville pulled off their first win as predicted by me and also the bias. They won the game 23-20. 2021 first overall draft pick, Trevor Lawrence, and rookie NFL head coach Urban Meyer both got their first NFL win with a 23-20 last second field goal victory over the Dolphins. Now, quick note to Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni. Urban Meyer seems to understand the need of having a running game. And he has believed in his running back, who is James Robinson, to help bring balance to his offense and take pressure off of his rookie quarterback. Robinson was extremely productive to the tune of 101 yards on 17 carries and a touchdown. And Lawrence threw the ball pretty well himself. He finished with 319 yards through the air. He had a touchdown. He threw no interceptions. Now, the Dolphins were pretty excited going into this game because Tua Tagovailoa, their quarterback, had been out with fractured ribs. He came back from his injury. He didn't disappoint them, although it was against a bad Jaguars defense. He was 33 of 47, 329 yards and 2 scores. Both of them went to Jalen Waddle, which was another highlight because Will Fuller's down and Devontae Parker is also injured. He may be back this coming weekend. With both of them out, Waddle's basically the main guy beside tight end Gesicki. Okay, so it wasn't like Tua had his full complement of weapons, but he still played well. Unfortunately, the Dolphins also, recurring theme, never really established their run. And it's crazy because they actually played 3 different running backs over the course of the game, but none of them put up any numbers or had enough carries to actually get the run established. Therefore, boom, no balance. Tua throws too many passes, gets picked off, they lose the game. Green Bay Packers go into Chicago, the Windy City, big time division rivalry. This one goes way back, folks. It means a lot to a Green Bay Packer to have to go into Soldier Field and come out with a victory against the Chicago Bears. It always has and probably always will. So, score was 24-14, by the way. Let me just say that. I made a fantasy call last week and referenced the Bears rookie running back, Khalil Herbert, who was put in position to start because of an injury to David Montgomery. And then Damon Williams, who came in to take over for Montgomery, tested positive for COVID. So here we go. We got nobody left. We got to go with a rookie running back, Khalil Herbert. Last week, he played pretty well. against Vegas. No big deal, but I liked him for fantasy purposes. He served well. Against the Packers, he played even better. But even his 97 yards and 1 touchdown on 19 carries wasn't enough to help Justin Fields lift the Bears offense. The conservative approach that the Bears have been using was good enough against Las Vegas, okay? But against the Packers defense, it fell short. Fields was able to manufacture 1 score through the air, but his total of 174 passing yards and 43 on the ground was nowhere near enough to keep them in the game. The Packers defense sacked Fields 4 times, picked him off once. Wasn't a good day for Justin Fields. But guess what? They've made the commitment to Justin Fields. So he's going to be out there. So if you're a Bears fan, buckle up and hold on, okay? But your quarterback of the future is now your quarterback of the present. Green Bay got great production from their ground game. Again, recurring theme, got to have a run game to have balance on your offense. Aaron Jones, 76 yards on 13 carries, 34 yards on 4 catches. One of those catches was for a touchdown. Also, A.J. Dillon's production is starting to go up. Well, his usage is going up, therefore his production is going up. He got to run the ball 11 times for 59 yards. That's a good thing because Aaron Rodgers in this particular game got sacked 3 times. The Bears sent everything they had at him on anything that they thought was going to be a passing down. The pressure seemed to affect Rodgers, and he was a little bit erratic, but he only had to throw the ball 23 times. He completed 17 for 195 yards, and he did throw 2 touchdown passes. Late in the fourth quarter, he had a 6-yard run for a touchdown, and he kind of let the Bears fans have it down there in the end zone, screaming, "I own you. I still own you." I thought it was funny, and I mean, actually, it's true. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Poor Bears fans. Cincinnati Bengals playing extremely well lately. Went to Detroit to play the Lions. This game was a blowout, and there were a few more this week, but this is the first big one. 34-11. In the post-game interview, Lions head coach Dan Campbell said his quarterback, Jared Goff, needs to step it up. You serious, dude? Granted, he hasn't played well, but he's working with a subpar wide receiver core. I talked about that just last week. And when teams load the box up like the Bengals did, and like everybody else is probably going to do for the rest of the season, all they're going to do is slow down DeAndre Swift. He's your best player. If you allow them to load up on him, you're not going to get anywhere. Not with that receiver core. And Goff's confidence has to be dashed. So I really don't see them playing or him playing any better to the tune of, having to step it up. But we'll see. Although the Bengals D was only able to sack Goff once, they did grab 1 interception. They had 1 4th down stop. They had 4 3-and-outs. Those are punts, folks. And they had 4 tackles for loss. That's probably DeAndre Swift getting stopped in the backfield. So they weren't able to really get anything going. The Lions, weren't able to get anything really going on offense. But offensively for the Bengals, Joe Burrow continued a really nice season that he's having. He was 19-29, 271 yards. He threw 3 touchdown passes. Jamar Chase was explosive. He had 4 catches for 97 yards. And Joe Mixon was beautiful. 18 rushes, 94 yards. He grabbed 5 passes for another 59 yards and a touchdown. That's a real nice day for Joe Mixon. I'm not going to say he's been quiet, but he hasn't had a day like this in a long time. So if you got Joe Mixon in fantasy, hold on to him, keep him starting. Another blowout. The Houston Texans had to travel to Indianapolis to play the Colts. The Colts destroyed them 31-3. There's nothing to see here as far as the Texans are concerned. So I'm just going to talk about the Colts. Carson Wentz threw 2 beautiful long balls for touchdowns. One went to wide receiver Paris Campbell. That one was 51 yards. And one went to, hey, he's back, T.Y. Hilton. That one went for 52 yards. He looked real comfortable in the pocket, but he still looks a little skittish when he's under pressure. So when he's really feeling the heat from the pass rush, gets a little happy feet still. But if they protect him, Carson Wentz can throw the ball well, as everybody knows. Jonathan Taylor is the unquestioned star of the Indianapolis offense. And he showed out again, 145 yards. Nice day. 145 yards, 2 touchdowns on only 14 carries. One of his runs went for 83 yards. I was extremely upset with the receiver that hurried up and got downfield, but didn't get himself in position to make that last block so that that run could have ended with a score. But, you know, what are you going to do? It was a beautiful run. Jonathan Taylor's having a great season. The Colts defense has been great and has a good number of injuries, but was solid in this one. They got 2 sacks, 2 interceptions, and they recovered a fumble. We always talk about turnover differential. That number of turnovers is basically going to guarantee you a win almost every time. LA Rams come east to play my New York Giants. Another blowout and a dominant performance on both sides of the ball for the Rams. The defense terrorized the Giants offense. They got 4 sacks, 3. Oh, geez, I can't even. Oh, this is killing me, man. 4 sacks, 3 interceptions, and a fumble recovery. I can't win. I can't win with that. That's going to sink me on the turnover differential list when we get to that, Barry. It's killing me. It's killing me. We're going to be at the bottom, man. I'm dying here. Matt Stafford shredded the Giants defense. 22 completions on 28 attempts. Unbelievably accurate for a nice 251 yards and 4 touchdowns. Darrell Henderson is becoming a true workhorse also. Just like I talked about Leonard Fournette, this team went from a committee to a 1-2 to a workhorse, just like that, and it's working out for them. He gashed the Giants for 107 yards on 23 carries, and he got 2 scores on the ground. Another blowout. Kansas City Chiefs need a bounce back game, or get right game, as we like to call it. They go into Washington and play the football team and come out with the victory, 31-13. Good Lord, this. I'm not going to use that word anymore. I promise you. And guess what? I have no reason to use it. The Washington defense finally showed some signs of life. They had 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, and a fumble recovery. But other than that, there ain't much to talk about the football team. And even that is kind of questionable as to whether it was really good defensive play or a little sloppiness that we've seen over the last couple of weeks from Patrick Mahomes. He's thrown a couple of questionable passes. He's gotten out of the pocket a little too quickly. I'm not sure what's up with Patrick Mahomes, but believe me, he's still far too much for Washington. His 2 interceptions were both in the first half, and actually neither one of them was his fault, but something just wasn't right. He doesn't look right to me. I'm not quite sure. We'll talk about it later, and you can give me your opinion. But even though he turned it up in the second half, and he finished with 397 yards and 2 touchdowns, so it was a great fantasy day for you if you had him. He threw the ball 47 times, though, and he only had 32 completions. I don't know, Air Raid Andy getting a little pass happy again. Running back Darrell Williams had a solid game in place of Edwards-Helaire. He had 24 touches, 89 yards. He scored 2 touchdowns, but I still think that the Chiefs are throwing the ball far too much. It's getting a little crazy. Again, you're losing your offensive balance, but that's kind of an Andy Reid trait, so I'm not surprised that the Chiefs are looking that way. Finally, not a blowout. The Minnesota Vikings go into Carolina to play the Panthers. This actually was a fairly good game. Okay, it wasn't that good a game. The game did go to overtime. The Vikings won the game 34-28, but it wasn't as close as it sounds. The Vikings and Kirk Cousins presently are playing, how can I put this? They present a lot of challenges for any defense, no question about it. Kirk's not always on his money, every game, but he's got the kind of weapons like Thielen and Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. So they're always going to present a lot of challenges for defenses.
I'm sorry. This is my only interruption.
Yes.
I just want to hear you say it again. Kirk's not always on.
I said only on his money.
Not always on his
Freudian slip. Freudian slip. Very good.
Truth. That's why he's Kirk Cousins. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. That's okay. The Panthers defense did try their best to slow down the Vikings offense. But, again, here we go, talking about balance. Without a lot of help from Sam Darnold, their best efforts are going to always fail. And, that Darnold's lack of being able to look like a real NFL quarterback the way he did early in the season, where I thought that he had kind of turned his whole career around by coming to Carolina, he's starting to look like the Sam Darnold we saw in New York with the Jets. And it's kind of crazy. I thought maybe it was like a one-game hiccup, but here it seems to be recurring. The Panthers defense wasn't able to record a sack or an interception against Kirk Cousins, but they did recover one fumble and they did block a punt that got returned for a touchdown. So they were out there balling as best they could. Meanwhile, Darnold was stinking it up when Carolina had the ball. He was, oh God, I don't even want to say it. He was 17 of 41. Are you kidding me? He threw one touchdown pass. It's a miracle they were even able to get to overtime. I think it would be a good idea for head coach Matt Rule to start leaning more on their run game. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey is hurt. However, Chuba Hubbard, I always want to call him Chuba Howard. It's easier to say. Chuba Hubbard has done a real good job in place of McCaffrey. Obviously, he's not McCaffrey, but yeah, if we're going to keep seeing Sam Darnold look like he's got on a green jersey instead of a black and blue one, there's going to be a lot more problems in Carolina. Real quick, Kirk Cousins totaled, Kirk Cousins totaled 373 yards and 3 touchdowns. Dalvin Cook came back from injury, ran a beastly 140 yards and a touchdown on 29 real strong carries. So yeah, the Vikings are going to continue to be a problem. Next up, the Los Angeles Chargers go to Baltimore to play the Ravens. Another blowout, 34-6 Ravens. Whew, man, I don't know what happened in this one. I was watching this game. My eyes got big. Justin Herbert struggled something awful. Keenan Allen was held in check. Austin Eckler was basically shut down. The Ravens defense counted the Chargers every move. They had 2 sacks, a whole bunch of hurries, 1 interception, 6 tackles for loss, 3 3-and-outs, and 3 fourth-down stops. So it's not like the Chargers didn't try to keep their foot on the pedal. You know what I mean? They went for it a number of times. They couldn't do anything. The Baltimore defense was strong. Now, I picked LA to win this game, kind of based on the crazy good way their offense is playing, of course, and the fact that Baltimore was on a short week after they had the big-time battle with the Colts on Monday night. So I'm thinking, okay, they might be a little banged up. They're not going to get as much practice time in. They got to come right back off of Monday night, play on Sunday. I expect it to be a game, obviously, but I'm thinking I'm going to lean toward the Chargers on this one. What I failed to consider was the Chargers' run defense is as soft as drugstore cotton. We're going to do. Statistically, Lamar had a quiet night through the air. He only threw the ball 27 times, completed 19, a mere 167 yards. He did throw 1 touchdown pass. He also threw 2 interceptions, which, the people out there that aren't really sold on Lamar Jackson yet, and I don't know who the heck you are, but you better get with it. But he gave you a little bit of ammunition. Now, one throw was a really bad throw. It's a bad read. He didn't see the linebacker coming. Horrible throw. Guy picks it off. The other one went off rookie wide out, Rashad Bateman's body. He kind of tried to tuck it in here, and it bounced out and got picked. I think the same linebacker picked it, in fact. That being said, Lamar and his running back crew just torched the Chargers on the ground. Lamar ran 8 times, 51 yards. Latavius Murray ran 9 times, 44 yards. Devontae Freeman, are you kidding me? Devontae Freeman gets up off his couch, runs 9 times for 53 yards, and scores a touchdown. And Le'Veon Bell, what is going on here? Le'Veon Bell got into the action. He carried the ball 8 times. He only got 18 yards, but he scored a touchdown too. It's crazy, man. Their ground attack is freaking awesome. People used to bow down to the Dallas Cowboys offensive line when Zeke was having his best years. I don't hear anybody talking about the offensive line of the Baltimore Ravens. These cats can move the ball on anybody. Best run blockers out there as far as I'm concerned. But again, my humble opinion. By the way, fantasy note, Rashad Bateman, this was his NFL debut. I believe he got injured either in a preseason game or in practice before the season began. He's just coming back. This was his first game. He had 4 catches for 29 yards, but this kid can run. He's a pretty good route runner, which he showed in the game, and he's got good speed. So if you need a receiver, you might want to grab Rashad Bateman. If you already have Marquise Brown, if Bateman shows off, like I believe that he will, he's going to take a little bit of fantasy numbers away from Marquise Brown, but that's to be expected. Again, just another plus for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Next up, another blowout. This is killing me. Arizona Cardinals do the damn thing to the Cleveland Browns. My goodness. The Browns fans were pulling their hair out, man. This is crazy. Whew. So when I'm talking football with my friends and just people in general, I run into guys at the gym that want to talk about football or whatever. I notice when folks talk about the Cardinals, you hear Kyler Murray's name, you hear DeAndre Hopkins. They even talk about Chase Edmonds, even AJ Green. The Cardinals defense is very mistakenly underrated. If you have not noticed what the Cardinals defense is doing, please, by all means, get with it. In this game, here's their line: 5 sacks, 1 interception, 2 fumble recoveries, 6 tackles for loss, 2 3-and-outs, and 3 stops on 4th down. That's a beatdown, man. And talk about beatdowns, they beat down Baker Mayfield. He's not even going to be able to play this weekend. I'm pretty sure he's got a torn labrum in his non-throwing shoulder. Labrum's up in here in this area. Not good for the Browns, especially not good for Baker Mayfield. I just saw an article today that said, can the Browns even win without Baker Mayfield? I know you gave me your opinion on that. We will see what happens, and we will talk about that some more. Kyler Murray had no trouble with the Cleveland defense. None whatsoever. His worst enemy on the field that day was backup center Max Garcia. Something happened to the starting center, so they bring out the backup, Max Garcia. Even on snaps where the quarterback is under center, every center quarterback exchange is different depending on who the center is. So they had 1 fumbled snap on a regular under the center snap, and then he fired one off of Murray's chest when he was in the shotgun because he wasn't ready for the ball. He was calling signals or return to say something to a wideout or something like that. And next thing you know, the ball's bouncing off his chest and rolling back for a big loss. But other than that, Kyler Murray was awesome. He threw 30 passes. He completed 20 of them. Nice day. 229 yards, 4 touchdowns. He sliced and diced the Browns secondary so bad that about mid-4th quarter, maybe late 4th quarter, they just pulled him from the game, let him chill on the bench. Nice day for Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Watch him. Next up, LA Raiders. This was This is another game. It wasn't a blowout, okay? But this is another game where the score does not indicate how badly one team beat the other. So the Raiders won the game 34-24. They were in Denver. Denver was the home team. Like I said, it wasn't a blowout per se, but it was nowhere near as close as the score could indicate. Teddy Bridgewater had a nice fantasy day, statistically, 334 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns. But most of that was in garbage time, which doesn't help you in real life as a team on the field. In fact, they went into the fourth quarter down 31-10. So going into the fourth quarter, they were getting blown out. So he threw a whole bunch of meaningless passes. He got sacked 5 times during the day. He threw 3 interceptions. Horrible day for Teddy Two Gloves. Derek Carr, on the other hand, had one of his best and most efficient games of the season. He was 18-27, 341 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nice day for Derek Carr. He beat the Broncos' vain attempt to cover his receivers man-to-man. I was watching the game. I'm like, they are always pressing all the time. They were running man-to-man for the majority of the game, and Carr made them pay. He completed passes of 51, 49, 40, 33, and 31 yards against the Broncos' man-to-man defense. They had no chance. They had no chance. On top of that, a nice run game. Josh Jacobs seems to be back from his little foot and ankle ailments. He ran the ball 16 times for 53 yards. He scored a touchdown. And Kenyon Drake, who was buried on John Gruden's bench, has now been resurrected. He got 6 touches, and in only 6 touches, he scored 2 touchdowns. I'm just going to leave that one out there. Next up, a great game. Way better than I thought it was going to be. The red-hot Dallas Cowboys go up to New England to play the Patriots. The game goes to overtime before the Cowboys are able to win it, 35-29. Whew, man. This game was a back-and-forth battle, and it was extremely fun to watch. I personally didn't think the Patriots had a chance, but Bill Belichick and offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels came in with a pretty solid game plan. The defense recovered a fumble. They intercepted Dak once, but they only had 1 3-and-out. So Dallas was able to move the ball pretty freely. The defense did their best, but obviously if you can't get 3-and-outs on the Dallas Cowboys offense, they're going to gash you. And if they don't come away with a touchdown, they're going to come away with a field goal, or they're at least going to beat you in the field position battle. So you have to get stops on Dak. Let's see. They were able to get a sack. They got 1 sack, but that's not enough against Dak Prescott. Mac Jones continues to show improvement. He actually completed 15-21 passes for 229 yards and 2 touchdowns, but it was basically game manager stuff, which is what you have to do when you're playing a very fast, freewheeling, opportunistic Dallas Cowboys defense. They kept making plays to keep the conservative Patriots offense under control. So there was nothing really that the Patriots could do about that. They did sack Mac and Cheese twice. They got a pick 6 late in the game, and they recovered a fumble, and they blocked a punt. So as usual, the Dallas defense played very well. Offensively, the Cowboys got out of their usual run-pass rhythm. I don't know if this was just a one-game thing. I don't know if this is something that they felt they had to do to counter something that Belichick did that they weren't ready for. But usually the Dallas offense is very balanced. In this one, Zeke ran the ball 17 times for 69 yards, but he was almost just as effective as a receiver with 17 receptions for 50 yards. This was the Cowboys' most pass-happy game of the season by far. Dak put the ball in the air 51 times after not throwing more than 32 passes in a game since week 1. That's a big differential there. Now, he finished with 36 completions for 445 yards, great numbers, 3 touchdowns, and the last touchdown, of course, was the 35-yarder to CeeDee Lamb with the walk-off and the bye-bye by CD to the DB. Big win for Dallas in a game that was up in the air almost to the end. Great game. I wasn't going to mention, I'm going to mention it. I've been seeing a lot of stuff on Facebook and Twitter in reference to Trayvon Diggs, the corner that plays for the Cowboys. People are talking about this guy's as good as Jalen Ramsey. They're putting his name in the same sentence with Deion Sanders. Please stop, y'all. Please stop. Number one, he's too young. Number two, he gambles a lot. Not that that's a bad thing. Number three, he's having a really great season. He'll probably lead the league in interceptions. There's a real good chance of that, okay? But as you can see, on back-to-back plays, he gets a pick six, and the very next time the Patriots get the ball, Kendrick Bourne, who is not a big-time star wide receiver, double moves him, and they get a touchdown off of that play. Beautiful throw by Mac Jones also. So what makes you laugh sometimes can make you cry. That's all I got to say. Next game up, Seattle Seahawks go into Pittsburgh and play the Steelers. This actually was a better game than I thought it was going to be. In fact, I'm not sure. I don't remember. I think I picked Seattle in this one. No, I took the Steelers. I got the win on this one. Had to refresh my memory. The game did go to overtime, though, but Big Ben proved again that he can get you the victory as long as the Steelers can run the ball and their offensive line can keep him upright, which they did. Seattle's shabby defense only sacked him one time, and Najee Harris tortured them all day. He had 30 freaking touches, 30 touches, 24 runs for 81 yards, 6 catches for 46 yards, and a touchdown. Whew. Long day for the Seattle defense. They are sick and tired of seeing Najee Harris, let me tell you. Roethlisberger found wide out Deontay Johnson 9 times. I think he had like 12, 13 targets, caught 9 balls for 71 yards. And I will say this, if you have Chase Claypool on your fantasy team, do not despair. He only caught 2 balls in this game. But remember, Juju is out for the season, which means Claypool will now be free to move around from the outside and sometimes come out of the slot, which I think he's going to start to do even more often now that Juju's gone. So Claypool working out of the slot could be a nightmare for some teams coming up in the future. So keep an eye on that fantasy-wise if you got him. Got to say a word about my man Geno Smith, backup quarterback Geno Smith for the Seahawks. Did a pretty good job keeping them within striking distance in this game. But unfortunately, late in the game, TJ Watt got to him, got the strip sack in overtime, and that led to the field goal that ended up giving the Steelers the victory. So shout out to Geno, doing the best he can out there, but I know Seahawks are watching intently to see when Russell Wilson will be able to come back. Now, the game. Buffalo Bills go down to Tennessee to play the Titans. Buffalo Bills end up losing the game to the Titans, 34-31. This was a great football game to watch. Now, as everybody who knows or everybody who watches us knows, I love the Buffalo Bills. I love their personnel as a whole. I love the aggressive way they play on both sides of the ball. I also love and totally respect Derrick Henry, which is why I believed that the only hiccups the Bills would have in this game would maybe be 1 or 2 breakaway runs by King Henry. Thought I was going to be right. What can I say? Josh Allen, as usual, did his thing. He was a real nice 35 of 47, threw for 353 yards, threw 3 touchdown passes. He did throw 1 interception, but he also caught a 2-point conversion from tight end Dawson Knox on what looked like a Philly special type of play, which was nice. Unfortunately for me and the Bills, what I thought would be a hiccup or two turned into a full-scale regurgitation. Oh my God, yeah, it got ugly. The Bills D, which has been lights out for the last 4 weeks, was unable to get to quarterback Ryan Tannehill, which is crazy. Like, you can't get to Ryan Tannehill? What's going on? And their right tackle, what's his name, Taylor Lewan, went out with an injury. I hope he's okay. He looked kind of bad, but I believe that they said he had feeling in all his extremities, and they took him to the hospital, and everything looks like he's going to be okay. But if you can't get to Tannehill, who's not having a great season, it's going to be a problem. He had a quiet first half, or let me just say, A.J. Brown, the star wide receiver on this team, had a quiet first half. But then Tannehill started to find him in the second half with real regularity. He targeted him a total of 9 times. A.J. Brown caught 7 of those passes for a big-time 91 yards that kept drives alive. These were drives where they found themselves in position, sometimes on 2nd and long, sometimes on 3rd and whatever, or 3rd and long. And he was able to find A.J. Brown to keep the chains moving. For some reason, the Buffalo Bills defense was unable to stop him. And I believe the major reason for that was because they were trying to load up the box and leaving him either one-on-one in man situations, or most of those passes he caught in big holes in the middle of the field. And you got to do that when you're playing against Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry ran the ball 20 times. He crushed their souls. 20 carries, 143 yards, 3 touchdowns. It got really, really ugly. He wore them into the ground. Game over, baby. Titans with a huge win. I'm sure the Buffalo Bills will bounce back, but this was a huge win for the Tennessee Titans. I don't know if they're going to be able to ride this into this week, but we will see. Other than that, I'm sure the Buffalo Bills will bounce back. They're my favorite AFC team. I only have one team. I'm a fan of the New York Giants, but my favorite AFC team to watch is the Buffalo Bills. So we'll see what happens. But Derrick Henry pretty much gave them a one-man beatdown with a little help from Tannehill and A.J. Brown. Fantastic, awesome game to watch. If you did not see it, go to NFL Network, see if you can find it, and watch the entire game. It was a great one. That's all I got.
Wow. Okay. Well, I made a couple notes. How many RBs, running backs, do you think a team needs to carry on their roster nowadays? With the way I'm looking at the Browns, man. You always talk about how my Niners seem to be able to pull these running backs out of any place, but I'm like, how deep do you need to go? Because that factors in when you're talking about cap space and all of that.
Yes.
You're looking at the value of a running back versus the value of a quarterback, or value even of a wide receiver, something like that.
Yes.
But if you got to go 6 deep.
Team philosophies come into the picture. Do we have a workhorse guy? Do we have a 1-2 punch? Do we have a committee? If you're going to run a committee, you got to have 6. You got to go 6 deep. If you're committed to a committee running back approach, you got to go 6 deep. If you have a 1-2 punch or a bell cow, I would say you should probably go 4 deep minimum to 5 deep. What you see with the Baltimore Ravens and the problems that they've had, they had to go and get 2 guys off the street. Devontae Freeman was unsigned. Le'Veon Bell was unsigned. So, they brought Latavius Murray in before the season started, I believe. So that was a good pickup. And they thought they were going to be able to live off of Tyshawn Williams. And, when you got Lamar Jackson, it's kind of like having an extra guy anyway. But yeah, they had to go to the street and pull two guys off their couches. So it's rough. I'd say 5.
Okay.
I'd say 5 is a solid number.
The other thing is you mentioned COVID, and I just want to say we're going to talk about that in current events a little bit. But I did post on our Ben and Barry page the NFL's operational protocols relative to COVID as of right now. And the NFL was working with the CDC, I believe it is.
Okay.
Sharing their protocols so that they could be referenced for other institutions like schools and business.
Yeah, cool.
So just wanted to mention that because it's still impacting teams as of today. You know, you mentioned it. It's impacting players.
It's funny because directly speaking to that, I have read, well, you know, people on Facebook, they're talking about, well, you know, what do you do if your job mandates that you get the vaccine and you don't want to? Do you give in and get it? Do you quit? This, that, and the other. And some of the people commented that at their particular jobs, they were asked to get the vaccine, but also had the option of twice a week testing. I can't remember exactly what type of jobs they have. I don't even know if they mentioned them, but they were given that option. I know everybody's not doing that, but some places are.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I've been a proponent of testing all along. You know that. I had even thought that part of the mistakes of the previous administration was that they did not work closely enough with business to set up testing before the vaccines and all of that, so that an employer could work with government to get the employees testing, get them back to work. You know what I mean? Because that's the only way to know what you're dealing with.
Right.
You know, you have to have a diagnosis before a prognosis.
Right.
So that was just messed up. Man, Sam Darnold, you mentioned Sam Darnold, and we had high hopes. We were singing high hopes for Sam Darnold. But you know what I remember, and it comes back to my whole running quarterback versus throwing quarterback thing.
Mm-hmm.
We were all like, wow, Sam Darnold running for touchdowns. He's leading the league quarterback-wise, running for touchdowns. And I'm thinking to myself as you're talking, was he not seeing the field? Is he running because he's not seeing his passing game is not up to par? There's something, he's to me, you devolve to running. When things break down and the play breaks down, you do what you have to do. But many times, why is it breaking down? Is it breaking down because you got two guys open and you're looking somewhere way downfield unnecessarily or something like that? There's a lot of reasons that a play doesn't work. So I'm wondering if him as a passer now has to come into question. We question Lamar. Should we be questioning Sam Darnold?
I don't question Lamar. No, in Sam Darnold's
proverbial way.
Okay. In Sam Darnold's defense, I will say this. He has had success running the ball mostly in the red zone. Most of his really critical runs have been in the red zone. He's not a between the 20s, let me get out of here and run type of guy. Obviously, if he gets an opening and for whatever reason doesn't throw the ball, whether he doesn't see the field, whether he can't find the open man, or whether he just sees grass in front of him and says, hey, I can get this first down and slide. But he wasn't really that guy. He took advantage of things that he saw in the red zone that allowed him to run. Hence, he has a nice handful of rushing touchdowns. But I wouldn't consider him really a running quarterback. He's a guy that's dangerous and can hurt you with his legs in the red zone. So I'm going to defend him on that one. But other than that, when you talk about him not seeing the field, no, he ain't seeing the damn field because he's not throwing the ball to his receivers, throwing them to the other team. This guy.
Okay, there you go. There you
I
go.
drank the Kool-Aid,
There's a
man.
big
I drank
question
it.
about Sam Darnold. You said 17 of 41.
Oh,
I'm like, holy mackerel. 17 of 41.
balls all over the place.
All right. It was my intriguing game was the Chargers Ravens game.
Oh, you the Ravens. Yeah. The Chargers Ravens.
I'm sorry
That was
if
your
you
game?
because that,
Bro.
that Bills game is a story in and of itself, but the Chargers Ravens, and it was because of analytics. If you haven't had a chance, go. I haven't found it on the Pro Football Talk website yet, but on Pro Football Talk this week, they were having meltdowns about analytics. Meltdowns. Now, we talked about analytics when? Last week.
Right. But let me ask you real quick. You said this was on Pro Football Talk?
Yeah.
Who are the guys on Pro Football Talk?
We got the one guy who was the attorney, and the other guy used to play for your Giants, as a matter of fact, I think.
No, it's Phil Simms' son.
Phil Simms, right, son. Right,
Yes.
Right.
Okay. I want to make sure I'm on the right show so I know what we're
show.
talking about.
Yes, that show. Hey, I watched that. That show reminds me of our show because it's like the two of them talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they have their perspectives, you know. So
Chris Simms.
Chris Simms, yeah. Chris Simms. I like Chris Simms. He's fun. So but yeah, the now do you remember the other guy's name? All right, he's the attorney.
I want to say Florio, but I'm probably mixing him up with
Mike Florio, and maybe Mike Florio.
Okay.
All right, but anyway, as the attorney, he looks at things in a slightly different way, also kind of different like me and you. And he's saying that the analytics people are bullies, that they're bullying the teams into like, if you don't do what we say you're doing, you know what I mean? You're not smart. You're gonna lose. And he's like, and Simms was talking about the emotional impact of things, like, you know, like if you don't like if you go for it or don't go for it, how it impacts the emotion on the sidelines.
Yes.
You know? And he's like, you can't quantify that. You know what I mean? You can't put that in the numbers. You know.
You can't.
And I question that call. We both had conversations back and forth on Facebook, you know, relative to the Bills call, but I'm not going to say that was analytics. I'm going to get back to the Ravens. But my fun thing about the Ravens is, in my research, they said that the Ravens were the #1 user of analytics. So I'm like, okay, was this an analytics victory? Because the Chargers they were using some analytics too. So I'm looking at that game going, okay, who's going to be coming out making these decisions based on, but it didn't get close enough to have to like come down to one of those dramatic, analytically driven moments. But overall, and again, talking about Lamar, one of the guys on one of the sports networks, he's the guy that does the piece about big man balling. I think it was him. On one of the NFL shows, he has a lot of the highlights of linemen and people getting pancaked and stuff. He loves that stuff. Anyway, he said Lamar as a pocket passer has arrived.
I think he can get even better.
He may be, but you know, I said that I thought they were giving him way too many play fakes, which were analytically driven. I got one video of him play faking. There's nobody there. You know, guys on the left, he's play faking to the right and all this kind of stuff. And that once he settled out of that, you know, in the second half of the win in the week before, he got devastated. I mean, he's firing that thing. He's seeing those lanes and firing it. And since he's not taking his eye off the field, if a running lane opens up, he can hit it right away. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to look this way, then turn around and focus in and see all, you know what I mean? Especially in the face of blitzes. You know, play action against a blitz can be devastating at times. You know, got to turn around after the play fake. And
it's his job. It's his job to read the blitz and call off that play.
Well, you know, maybe so. You know, we'll see
maybe
if that actually happens.
not
But
maybe.
I
That's
see
it.
guys play action and obviously in obvious situations where we know you're not going to run the ball, so we don't even know why you play action. It's not even in
No,
the
I agree with you in that sense.
yeah.
When you're not running the ball well and you try to run play action, the defense is laughing as they come at you to sack you. So that's crazy.
No, I'm actually talking more situational, where the situation is, the potential to be successful.
Yeah,
The situation with a run is pretty much zero, but you're still running play action. The thing
yes.
about what you just said that's interesting relative to the analytics is that from what I'm reading in my research, the analytics is saying that play action makes your passing game more successful, no matter if your running game is being successful.
I think
You don't have to. Analytics was saying this.
I think that's a foolish statement.
The thing, they have numbers.
But yeah, they have numbers. So I keep
throwing a con to this situation. And you and me, to me, that doesn't make common sense because we're talking about a fake. How well does a fake work? You know what I mean? If
you're faking something that you don't do anyway.
You know what I mean? But that's why I want to continue to keep my eye on this whole interaction between analytics and football. I think it's fascinating. And after seeing Mike Florio and Chris Sims have a meltdown over analytics, I think there's going to be a lot more fireworks in the future.
I mean, I didn't see the show, but I'm probably going to guess that I was leaning in the direction of Chris Sims on this one. Obviously, he has a father who was very successful in the NFL, a Super Bowl winner, and he has NFL experience. So I'm going to think that he's going to lean, tell me if I'm wrong, he would lean more toward the emotional part of the game and the gut part of the game as opposed to analytics. But I don't think he would poo-poo it, as I don't. I think it has its place. But there's certain things that go on in a game that I don't care what analytics says, because this is my team. These are my players. Nobody knows them better than I do. Nobody knows what they can do, what they're not good at. And in this situation, at this moment, at this part of the field, with the score being this, I'm making that call. I'm making that call. I don't care what the analytics say, but that's how I feel about it. I'm assuming he kind of was leaning that way.
Well, yeah, you know something? I don't even know if he got to that conclusion, but his point again,
not definitively, but
how you can't quantify how the guy how he was saying, like in certain situations, and now your defense is there. If you go for it, your defense, they kind of relax. Okay, well, we expect this guy to get it. But if they know you're not going to go for it, then they stay to attention because they know we gotta, like, if they had to kick that field goal, you're going into overtime. Your mindset now changes than if you're looking in, did he make it? Did he make it? Oh, we got to go back on the field. You know what I mean? It has an emotional effect. And one last thing I'll say, obviously you got some points you want to make. Go ahead.
Oh, absolutely.
Go ahead. You want to do it? Go ahead.
No, you can finish.
Oh, I was going to say one last thing.
Because I thought we were going to get through this without talking about the Bills, but I see you kind of slipped it on there when you talked about kicking a field goal. So go ahead. Here's the thing. So your defense is on the sideline. Your offense is going for it. You're trying to feel the emotions of your team. How this decision you make is going to affect your team one way or the other. Your offense has been rolling pretty much for the whole game. And the coach says, you know what? We could kick the field goal here, but we're going to go for it. The defense isn't relaxed because they're confident in the offense and they want to see it happen and they're ready to see it happen. If it doesn't happen, it is deflating, but they have a job to do and they know they have to get back out there. If you are in a position where the thought of going for it is clearly there, and you decide to kick a field goal anyway, that's when the defense relaxes. And if by chance, no matter how small it is, that you miss that field goal, and it has happened, cats miss extra points every week, that is freaking deflating. That is deflating. So I'm not saying use that to decide whether you go for it or not. I'm just saying when you're going to consider how your decision affects the rest of your team, those are some things to consider.
Okay. All right. There you go. The emotional versus the numerical, you know, and again, how to quantify that. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right, Benny. Let's get set up here for the Sterling net point power rankings. How's that look to you?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Don't worry about the numbers or the teams are kind of whited out. They can't see them real good.
Yeah, I was going to say that whatever's white.
I just want to set this up because really it's just the symmetry of the Sterling net point power ranking sometimes that I want people to appreciate that at any particular point in time, half your team or somewhere around half is on the negative side. And it's nice to know who that is and who it's not. And one of the interesting things about this, Ben, is that if you take a look at it, right now the skew is to the positive because you have 17 teams in the positive.
I was just counting.
Well, you just counting.
I was just counting. Now, those three teams there in the middle, although they're all in the negative, they're fractions. Like they could very easily be on the left side. You know,
Chargers, New England, and the Niners, 0.3, 0.3, and 0.4 on the negative side.
Yes, they are clearly hanging in there.
Well, you got it. First of all, let's give some love to the to the Las Vegas Raiders for being that 17th and last positive ranked team.
Right.
All right. So some positivity for the Raiders there. And so let's take a quick look here at these different rankings that we take a look at. And we focus in on points for, points against, turnover differential, and net points. The A in front of it means we are now at the point where we're doing averages. So the numbers aren't quite as striking, but you still have to understand that the power of what you're talking about. You can look at the turnover differential for Buffalo, for example, knowing that this was through week 6, multiply that by 6. That's almost times 6 times 2. So that's a plus 12 just under that in terms of gross numbers to give you an idea about what we're talking about here. But these are some great averages. Buffalo still ranked number 1 in turnover differential at 1.8. The worst 2 teams in the league are quite on the other side. Jacksonville. and we know that Trevor Lawrence had a couple really bad turnover games. So did the Jets. You know, those are rookie situations. But here you got it. Any particular comment from you?
Yeah, I just want to ask a question so that I'm clear and maybe can clear it up for anybody that's watching. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. So we look at the Buffalo Bills. It says average turnover differential, 1.8. Is that correct?
Yes.
So could I look at that like they are almost 2 takeaways better than everybody else?
When you say average, probably want to use the concept of per game now.
Okay. So they are on the
per game basis, they're coming out almost 2 turnovers better than the other team.
Better per week.
Per game.
2 turnovers better per week.
You're
per
saying
game.
week, I'm saying game.
Per game. I got you. Per game. You're right. That's better. So each week, when they come into the game, they're averaging 2 takeaways per game.
Right, right. Now,
Okay.
the interesting thing with this again is, you know, it's almost like remember with Derrick Henry in that game against the Bills. I think before he had that 72-yard breakaway, which was just kind of devastating. He was 4 attempts for 8 yards.
Right.
Right. So then once he gets that, now his numbers are completely skewed. You know what I mean? So we have to look at this. Now we know the skew was in, for example, with the Saints from their first game against the Packers, you know, because that was lopsided. But that thing has righted itself to some degree. As a matter of fact, you look at turnover differential, the Saints are 5th with 1, and the Packers are now 6th with 0.7. They've been rising on the charts like an old hit song.
Right.
So just to go top 10 real quick, Chargers at 10, tied with Tampa Bay at 0.5, tied with Las Vegas at 0.5, and the Rams all at a half turnover per game on average. Green Bay at 0.7, New Orleans at 1, Indianapolis Colts 1.2, Dallas Cowboys 1.2. There's them Arizona Cardinals, man. I'm telling you, the NFC West, and Buffalo at 1.8. So those are your top teams. Most of the other teams you'll notice are pretty close. If you go,
oh yeah, nobody's terrible. I look all the way down to Carolina right quick. They're minus 0.7. That ain't far from, you know what I mean? They're it's not terrible.
Not terrible, but they're 28th. Now, if you look, for example, you have a 3-way tie from 11 to 13 between Chicago, Seattle, and Minnesota at 0.3. Okay. Then you also have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-way tie between number 17 and number 23 at 0.3 on the minus side, minus 0.3. Miami, Pittsburgh, Washington, Denver, Baltimore, Cincinnati. You got a 4-way, 1, 2, 3, 4-way tie between 23 and 26. Houston, New England, Tennessee, and Cleveland. So you got at least 3 situations where you have pretty much a tie. You even have a tie on the positive side, 7 through 10, with the Rams, Vegas, Tampa Bay, and the Chargers at 0.5 on the positive side. So pretty close.
Pretty much, they're so close that pretty much any particular game where your quarterback goes in the tank and gets strip sacked and throws 2 or 3 picks, you know, or your defense just goes bananas and gets 5 or 6 sacks like the Arizona Cardinals tend to do, okay? And these numbers can flip just like that. But the easy way for me to look at it is, I remember a stat that you put on Facebook, excuse me, during the week, maybe just a day or 2 ago, that said something like 69.6% of the time, the team that has at least 1 more turnover than the other is going to win. And then I look at the Jets at -1, Niners -1, Kansas City 1.3, and Jacksonville -1.7. They're coming into the game severely handicapped when I see that, according to that statistic.
The other thing we like to talk about is neighborhoods. Look at the neighborhood Kansas City's hanging out in.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, they're not good.
Potential playoff contender.
Their defense is not good. It's not even close to being good. They're not taking the ball away. They're getting shredded.
Well, and then you add on top of that, Pat Mahomes, you know,
he has given it away a few times.
I mean, the one where he's getting tackled and he just throws the ball up, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, did he get attacked by the spirit of Carson Wentz or something? What the heck is going on with that guy?
I'm telling you, for all the so-called miracles that he has put up over the last couple of seasons, And no doubt about it, the guy has done some really great, miraculous things. But those miracles start to run out if your defense can't stop anybody. Because now you're not doing things just because you can. You're doing things because you have to. And there's a big difference. And it's starting to affect him. Whether they can come out of it or not, I don't know. But there might be some shocking things happening coming out of Kansas City in the weeks to come. And I don't mean.
So you want to talk about defense?
Excuse
me?
me?
Is that what you want to talk about?
Yeah, we can talk about defense.
Well,
let's remember now, when we talk about defense, we're talking about points against, correct?
Points against,
okay,
or average points against. Again,
right.
We're doing averages because bye weeks. Okay, so the numbers of games is unequal. The only way to do that is to average it out. And number one, there's Buffalo again. And you know, it's funny. I actually heard someone in the media, again, we had pointed out that they were number one in all 4 categories last week. The media discovered that at some point by midweek.
Yeah, they're always behind us. We're always out in front.
and then I heard that Buffalo was actually kind of feeling themselves a bit going into this Titans game.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised to hear that. Don't know how accurate it is, but it was reported. Okay, I just want to mention. But number one, I mean, they should be feeling good. Look at number 2, Arizona. You know, only allowing 18.2 points per game. Buffalo only 16.3. New Orleans, again, the skew team, having only given up 3 points in their first game toward to the Packers, are still number 3, tied with number 2 at 18.2. Denver, number 4, 18.3. Questions about Denver defense now, right?
Yeah, yeah. Secondary is looking shaky. Pass rush is still good, but
Cincinnati Bengals coming in at 5. And we're going to talk about their matchup coming up. Carolina at 6, 20.2 points per game given up. And I think I had said somewhere point, if you can score 28 points in a game, you pretty much are going to win it, you know? So these are the teams that are not giving up 28 points. The Rams, Indianapolis, and New England all giving up 21 point something, 0.2, 0.2, and 0.8 for number 9, 10, and 11. So there you go. There's your top 10. Pittsburgh at number 12. We'd like to break it down to 8s because there's 32 teams, and usually your top 8 is where your playoff contenders are really going to come from, and that's all shaking out as we speak. Tampa Bay is number 17, giving up 24 points a game. Dallas fell. Dallas was up to 16 last week. They're down to 24.3. They dropped to 19 thanks to mac and cheese. You keep calling him mac and cheese.
Mac Jones. That's the name Cam Newton gave him. Cam Newton is now sitting at home on his couch watching Mac work. So,
oh yeah. We're going to talk about some of the dynamics of anybody sitting home on their couch right now as we get to the current events part.
Tell me this. Remind me real quick.
Coming up, right?
Remind me real quick. Where was Dallas at on turnover differential?
On turnover differential?
Yeah.
Where was Dallas at?
Yeah. 3rd. Thank you. You can go back now.
Well, and we know why that was.
Yeah, but that kind of makes up for the points they're giving up. It doesn't make up. It doesn't make up for it, but it's just, you know, you look at this and you say, wow, they're 19th in the league, averaging giving up 24.3 points per game. How good could they be? Okay, but when you're getting turnovers at the clip that these guys are getting, I mean, turnovers make the difference between wins and losses because everybody's got a defense and everybody's got an offense too. You know what I mean? And every team is full of professional football players. So you're going to score, I'm going to score, we're going to stop you, you're going to stop it, we can't stop you, you can stop us. But turnovers, to me, is what makes the real difference between wins and losses. And that's where Dallas excels. So just want to say that.
All righty, there you go. There you go. Green Bay, I mentioned they're 13th, giving up 22.7, or excuse me, giving up 22.7 points per game. So there you go. And your points against, again, all of this is at the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings Facebook page. All right, Benny, who's scoring the points around here? Because Michael Irvin said it's points that win Super Bowls. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
I
Go, Mike. Good job, Mike.
Good job, Mike. Especially when you have the number 1 point scoring team in the league. Oh, he's just thrilled. He is so happy. He don't know what to do with himself right about now.
I'll tell you the truth. Let me just say this before you start getting into everybody's numbers and where everybody is here. I'm looking at this list, and we just looked at the points against list, and I'm looking at the points against list, and I'm thinking, I'm not impressed with anybody. I mean, Buffalo averages giving up 18.6. That's pretty doggone good. And the next 2-3 teams under that, they're a good bit underneath the 20, giving up 20 points a game. That's pretty doggone good in today's NFL. But after that, I'm not really impressed. New England giving up 21. Rams supposed to be great. They're giving up 21. The Niners, I thought would be better. They're giving up 23. Tampa Bay giving up 24. Are you kidding me? That's not good at all. I'm not impressed at all. But when I look at the list of points for, that's impressive. I'd say that's impressive all the way down at least to Green Bay at number 15. You can put up 24 points or more on average, week after week after week, you're going to win ball games. According to Michael Irvin.
Yeah, and again, look at your top 8. Tennessee at number 8, Baltimore number 7, Rams number 6, Kansas City number 5, Arizona number 4, Tampa Bay number 3, Buffalo number 2, and Dallas number 1. Sounds like all contenders to me. Sounds like all contenders. Now, that next group down to 15, you're talking about Cleveland, the Saints, the Chargers, Cincinnati, Vegas, Minnesota. The team that probably belongs least there with that group is Green Bay. But again, the skew is in effect. We know because they only scored 3 points in their first game. So being at 15 at this particular point, averaging 24, when you only scored 3 in your first game, that's a move. I'm keeping an eye on those guys.
That's a nice move. That's a nice move. Aaron Rodgers isn't having his best season. I just want to kind of put that out there as far as like really being stellar through the air. He's having a good season, not even close to his best. We'll have to see if that changes over the course of the next few weeks and Green Bay begins to rise on this particular chart. But I'm not going to say he's struggling. I'm just going to say I like what they're doing as far as their ball control and really leaning on their run game. Something that they had to do last season, and they still got to the NFC Championship game, and something that they don't have to do but choose to do this season. I think it's a formula for success. I'm just saying they're not putting up huge numbers like they used to. That's all.
Okay. And I'll mention finally before we go relative to points 4, again, I like to talk about neighborhoods. Who's hanging out with who? Well, look at number 24, hanging out square in the middle in terms of being able to score between Atlanta. I'm sorry, I'm talking about 25, Pittsburgh, between New England, who's one who's above them, and Jacksonville, who's 0.2 points below them. So
I didn't even peep that. I'm like looking, I'm going Denver, Atlanta, New England, Pittsburgh. What? I'm telling you, man, if they could keep Pittsburgh, if Pittsburgh can protect Big Ben, you will see them rise. If they cannot, you will see them fall. It's all on protecting Ben. And Jacksonville, I mean, they got a nice run game. It's not like they stink. Their defense stinks. It's not like Trevor Lawrence can't find the end zone. You know what I mean? So, yeah. When you think about it, it's not surprising. But as my eyes were going down the list, I was like, say what?
I know.
And they're right above my Giants. Oh, God.
Now, the only other, now you got the two NFC West contenders there. I'm calling them contenders, but I'm not believing in them. And that's my team, the Niners, my beloved 49ers, and our NFC West compadres, the Seattle Seahawks, both of which are only averaging a little over 23 points a game. So, you know.
It was just a matter of weeks ago where I heard other people, and I almost agreed that the NFC West could possibly have 4 playoff teams.
Yes.
What a difference a couple of weeks
to set in.
Hey.
It's still early. All right, there'll be a lot. Wait a minute. How does Stephen A. This is his new word now. Stephen A. Smith. Fluid. Everything is fluid. He's changing his picks and stuff on a weekly basis. Talking about it's fluid.
Yeah, that means he just don't know what he wants, but he likes to talk. So
it's fluid, Benny. It's all right. Let's go. This is where 2 minus 1 averages out in terms of whatever. It's the differential that makes the difference. Average net points. Let's take a look at number 1. There's those Buffalo Bills again. I didn't read the articles, but I saw 2 or 3 articles, and I think it was the Buffalo Press prior to the game talking about what Buffalo was going to do with Derrick Henry, how they were going to do. But you know, they didn't do a bad job. It's Derrick Henry. You know what I'm saying? They didn't do a bad job, but you got to score too. Derrick Henry's going to get his, then you got to get yours and hope at the end you can beat them. But 17.5 points per game on average. Second to
score in every. Let me ask you this. So he didn't score in every quarter. He didn't go for 200 plus, and he didn't score 4+ touchdowns. So therefore, they didn't do that bad.
It's Derrick Henry.
It's Derrick Henry. Right.
He's not a normal guy.
Right. So anything under him getting 1 touchdown or more per quarter of the game. So he starts hot and he finishes hot. He gets close to or at least 200 yards on the ground, let alone the guy catches 5-6 passes. Other than that, they didn't do too bad.
Hey, look, Manny, 28 points, right? That would be one. Again, if Derrick Henry runs for a score and you throw for a score and you match him, it's 28-28. You know what I mean?
I got you.
You got to do your thing. They're going to do their thing. There's only so much you can do. I thought that apparently their history with Derrick Henry is actually pretty good. They actually
I saw that stat. Yeah, I saw that stat. They held him under 100 several times.
So there you go. Well, number 1, 2, and 3. Let's get you a top 3 here. You got Buffalo, Arizona, and Dallas in third place at 9.8. Arizona averaging 14.2. And again, average net points is that statistic like turnover differential that can go both positive and negative. Tampa Bay at 5. Well, I'm sorry, the Rams at 4 at plus 8.7. Tampa Bay 5, 8.5. Baltimore 6, 7.8. Saints 7th. The Saints seem like an anomaly. For some reason, I keep thinking the Saints should be down in the lower fourth for some reason. And I know about the skew, but it's just amazing that they haven't fallen more to me. Anyway, we'll see. Saints 7th, Cincinnati 8th at 6.2 points per game, or excuse me, net points per game. Carolina 3.7, Denver 2.7, and that rounds out your top 10. So again, Kansas City being able to score, so they're in the positive on net points at number 12. Same with Minnesota, same with Green Bay, Indianapolis, and Tennessee at number 15. Again, Las Vegas holding up that extra slot just below Cleveland at 0.8 and Vegas at 0.5. Everybody else is on the negative side. The surprise team that's on the negative side as far as net points are concerned, I would say, Benny, are Seattle, Pittsburgh. Yeah, that's pretty much about it.
These are teams you're considering contenders that happen to be on the negative side.
Well, teams that I thought were better than being on the negative
Oh, okay.
side. You know what I mean? They could have been, maybe they were number 17, but they're on the negative side right now. You know, Seattle and Pittsburgh.
I got you.
So
yeah, I see a couple of teams. I would agree with that. Excuse me. It's funny now. Everybody out there, remember, these are our power rankings. These are Barry's, specifically Barry's power rankings. You take these power rankings and you watch NFL Network and watch and see what their power rankings are coming up after week 6 or going into week 7, and compare them to these and tell us what you think. I'm looking at these power rankings, and just on the eye test, the first 6 I have absolutely, positively no problem with. None at all. I think that's pretty good. I think that's darn good, considering most shows are going to talk about top 10s, okay? New Orleans, since you mentioned them, they've won a game, lost a game, won a game, lost a game, won a game. They're not bad. I'm looking at their defense. They're not giving up tons of passing yardage, except for in their last 2 against the Giants and Washington. Somehow those games became kind of shootouts, but and they lost to the Giants and they beat Washington. So defensively, yeah, they're a little shaky. Offensively, Jameis Winston is holding up his end pretty much, considering he doesn't have a name wide receiver to throw the ball to. So I'm a little bit surprised that they're still that high. Some of it has to do with the skew, obviously. I don't know if they're going to be able to hang in there, though. Cincinnati, I'm not super surprised at. Carolina's showing their true colors, they're going to fall. Denver's showing their true colors, they're going to fall. These are my opinions. I believe Minnesota has a chance to get in the top 10. I believe Green Bay has a chance to get in the top 10. After Tennessee showing against Buffalo, I cannot not mention them as a possibility. I don't know if they can get it up to play that well again, but they sure did show me something this past weekend. Vegas is not out of the woods yet, and the Chargers, I doubt that they'll play that badly offensively ever again this season. So yeah, this is great, but that top 6, gotta love that. You gotta love those teams.
absolutely, absolutely. All right, Benny. Well, that wraps up the Sterling net point power rankings portion of the show. And you're absolutely right. You know, when you're looking at all of the other rankings, they include a lot of opinion, you know, conjecture, and we don't completely, you know, discount that. However, these rankings are based on what the teams have actually done.
Right.
They did it. They put themselves there. I didn't put them there. You didn't put them there. We just tracking what they're doing and reminding people this was a great experiment. We're going to talk about a little bit about our results on the next segment, the Bias Plus reports, which takes those rankings, the net points and the turnover differential, and utilizes those 2 stats in looking at the matchups for the upcoming week. We're talking about week 7 out of 18. 9 games, we'd be halfway through, Benny. We're almost halfway through the season already.
We'll be deep into the bye weeks too.
Oh, deep into the bye weeks. All right, here we go. Here we are, the Bias Plus Report, NFL Week 7, 2021. First game up, Thursday night game. Denver Broncos at Cleveland Browns. Bias Plus score of 2.1 favors the Denver Broncos. And again, the Bias Plus score is based on average scores now, so the numbers aren't quite as dramatic looking, but you're looking at them on a per game basis. So on a per game basis, Denver Broncos have been 2.1 turnover differential and net point differential better than the Broncos. I'm sorry, than the Browns. So that's what the numbers say, Mr. Dickerson. This is where you get your chance to shout out.
Okay, well, excuse me. I'm going to go with the bias. 2.1 is not a huge number, obviously. Now that we're going to averages, you guys are going to get used to seeing smaller numbers for the biases. But I believe that you just said that the Broncos had the turnover differential in their favor. So even though they will be on the road with the turnover differential in their favor and with Baker Mayfield not able to play, not that I'm saying anything bad about Case Keenum, but let's face it, he's a career backup. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are both injured. Hunt is on the IR. Chubb is not, but he's already been ruled out for this game. I don't know if Jalen Ramsey's going to play or not. Maybe Beckham will be on the same page with Keenum better than he has been with Mayfield. Yeah, when you look at the Browns on paper,
Beckham hurt too, right? He's questionable.
Who?
Beckham.
Yeah, he got a little something going on too. Of all things, you catch plenty of injuries. You catch more injuries than you catch passes, dude. And I can't blame it all on him. I can't. But he's been back from injury long enough to have some kind of rapport with Baker Mayfield, and it doesn't look like they even know each other. When I look at the passes that get thrown to him, I don't know if it's his route running, or I don't know if it's Baker's anticipation or not being able to read his speed or whatever. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't look good. On paper, the Cleveland Browns look extremely strong, but the only part of their team, now that the starting running backs are hurt, the only part of their team where the names actually match the production is on their defensive line and their pass rush. That's about it. So that being said, if Teddy Two Gloves is close to 100%, because I know he's a little banged up too, but if he can get in there and he can make it through this game, I believe the Broncos will win this game on the road in Cleveland, and those fans are going to have 2 weeks of feeling real, real sad in a row.
2 weeks in a row. All right, Teddy Two Gloves. He likes to call him that. All right, next up, the Washington football team is at the Green Bay Packers. This is an NFC contest, interdivisional. Bias Plus score 10.6 favors the Green Bay Packers.
I'm not going to call these games no-brainers anymore after some of the stuff I saw last week. But the Washington football team is going to be hard-pressed to go up to Lambeau and beat the Packers. Packers got too much offense for them, even if most of it goes through the run game and through Devontae Adams. Aaron Rodgers is feeling real good about himself. The Packers will not be denied in this game. Washington is going to be hard-pressed to even slow them down, let alone stop them. This might be one of the bigger games for Aaron Rodgers. But then again, it may not even be necessary because their run game basically runs on anybody. Take the Packers. This one shouldn't be that big a deal.
You know what's funny? the Washington football team is scoring 22.8 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
Packers only scoring 24. That's like 1.2 point differential in terms of what's scoring. But as much as we've maligned the Packers defense, the Washington defense is ranked 32nd, and the Packers defense is ranked 13th.
And they're playing over their heads because they got a lot of injuries too.
Okay.
So those guys that are actually showing up on the field for the Packers on defense, they're playing over their heads. I'm surprised because I thought they would have a big letdown after some of the injuries they got in their defensive backfield, but they're doing all right. And Washington can't stop a soul.
Speaking of can't stop a soul, Kansas City Chiefs at the Tennessee Titans. Now, you mentioned something that I was thinking. Let me first say that the bias plus score of 0.7 favors the Kansas City Chiefs.
Not 7, but 0.7.
0.7, that's less than 1. That's 70% of 1.
Bruh, I'm not feeling the Chiefs right now. I'm really not. Their defense is weak and it looks disheveled, if that's a good word to use. The only guy out there that looks like he really knows what's going on is the doggone Honey Badger. And he's so busy yelling and screaming at his teammates. On the other hand, Tennessee Titans are coming off a huge win. Sometimes huge wins have a tendency to cause you to have a little bit of a letdown. But how could you possibly have a letdown when you're at home against the Kansas City Chiefs? I think Tennessee puts it together. Derrick Henry has another strong game. They don't get to Tannehill. He puts it up, gets AJ going again, might even hit Julio a couple of times. This is going to be a big win for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, man, that Julio connection. I played the Titans in Madden, and they tightened me up a little bit with that Julio connection. So,
yeah, well, they're Julio really don't have it no more, but
well, on the game he does.
yeah, well, yeah, sure, because he's living off his lifetime.
What was that? Who was that catch on the sideline when it bounced off the helmet? Was that Julio?
I think that was Julio. I think, yeah, the guy defended him really well, and the ball hit his helmet so loud you could audibly hear it over the crowd noise. And he caught that thing. He was ruled out of bounds though, right?
Initially, no, but then they came back and said no.
Yes. He got his feet down.
He got his toes
on a ball that bounces. I mean, bounds off of this guy's helmet, and he had the wherewithal to refocus, catch it, and get both feet down. It was still incredible. Still incredible. I think the only thing that's hurting him now is he doesn't get in and out of his breaks like he used to. So his route running is a little bit hampered, but he can still work the sideline, no doubt about it.
Still got some Julio left. All right. And so you're going with
Titans.
All right. Atlanta Falcons at Miami Dolphins. Bias plus score 4.1 favors the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
Both teams are in the negative. Let me just mention in terms of net points, Atlanta negative 8.6 and Miami negative 13. So one less negative than the other.
Yeah, both in the negative side, but I'm not going to let that bother me. One team's still better than the other as far as the stats are concerned. 4.1, that's decent. The Falcons have had a good bit of success offensively and have actually played better than I thought they would coming into the season defensively, whereas the Dolphins are almost the opposite on defense. They're playing far worse than I expected them to at the beginning of the season. That being said, even though this game is in Miami, I believe that Matt Ryan will go in there and use his experience to have his way with the Miami defense. Also, again, unsung. This dude's unsung. Cordarrelle Patterson is a problem. Like, this guy, he's so big. You know who he reminds me of, kind of, except for he moves his feet better and runs. He's a better runner. Remember when Brandon Jacobs, the tiptoe bandit, I used to call him?
God.
Brandon Jacobs played for the Giants.
He reminds you of Brandon Jacobs, really?
But except for he don't tiptoe. Cordarrelle Patterson turns it on. But with the size of a running back taking a handoff at that size, that's what reminds me of Brandon Jacobs. Because Brandon Jacobs was a big guy. But the running ability
was a lot thicker.
He was thicker, but Cordarrelle is not small. The difference is Cordarrelle actually gets going. Like, he hits holes. If he goes outside, you can see him forcibly trying to turn the corner. This guy has turned himself, he has redefined himself like for the third time. He was just a kick returner. Then they turned him into a wide receiver, and now he's a running back. Almost full time. He's the starter. Unbelievable. But yeah, I'm taking the Falcons on this game. No problem.
I am equally amazed at Cordarrelle Patterson. However, I've seen him take a few hits at running back going through the line, and his lankiness seemed to work against him in the way he was getting hit a couple times. So I'm keeping
As it
my eye
will.
on him.
As it will.
Okay, there you go. Lankiness. Jets at New England Patriots. Bias plus score of 11 favors the New England Patriots. There's still some teams out there for Mac Jones to be able to come in and say, I think we can handle these guys. But as we have seen now with the Jets quarterback, he's turning it on a little bit, starting to get it together, even though I think he took a step back. Am I correct?
I think he took a little step back in the last game they played before the bye. The game before that, I thought he played well. He wasn't terrible in the game that they lost, but, again, lack of a run game, lack of a viable defense is going to hurt you every time. What makes this game a little bit scary for the Patriots is they're coming off their bye week, the Jets. So they've had extra time to prepare. This will be a little something you might want to put on Robert Saleh's checklist as far as how does a new head coach do in his first game coming off of his first bye week. So keep that in mind, because I know that's your man. You like him.
Former Niner, baby.
Yep, former Niner. But off the top of my head, and this is they're both in the minus, right?
Yeah. Let's see.
11.
Jets are minus 11. They're coming in 30th. The Patriots are minus 0.3. They're 19th. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, the strength of their defense, they're ranked 9th. They're only giving up 21.2 points per game. The Jets are only scoring 13.4 points per game.
I'll tell you the truth. I'm going to take the Patriots, but this could be a trap game for them. They're going to need to be careful in this one. Yeah, they're going to need to be careful in this one. The Jets, if they pull off the upset, I'll be mad I didn't pick them, because it's kind of set up. They're kind of set up for a letdown.
And this is a divisional contest, which we say are always a little strange.
Divisional contest, extra week to prepare, quarterback that actually has the skills to lead his offense to a win, offense going against a bad defense, but that offense is not that strong, basically has a game manager as a quarterback.
You're talking about Patriots versus Jets.
Patriots versus Jets, that is correct. They got a game manager against a bad Jets defense, but again, a Jets defense that has had an extra week to prepare and is rested. There's a lot of warning signs on this one, but I'm going to stick with the bias and I'm going to go with the Patriots.
All right, absolutely. Okay, Benny, next up for week 7, the Bias Plus report. Again, you can find the Bias Plus report at the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings page on Facebook and on Twitter. I started an Instagram page, Benny, but I don't know if you heard right now, Facebook's talking about rebranding himself so that all of their different entities fall under some one name.
Really?
Yeah. It kind of reminding the business community of when Google decided to rebrand itself as Alphabet. The funny part is that the Google brand was so strong that nobody knows who Alphabet is. Everybody knows still who Google is.
Oh, wow. Yeah, right. How about that?
You know, and the other funny part is, I know my kids, when we, the parents, got on Facebook, they're like, nah, we're not gonna be on here with y'all. And they left and went to Instagram.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, the separation of the generations there, you know. So I don't know. But let's get back to Panthers coming in, playing your Giants, Bias Plus score of 13.7. Now that's pretty strong, especially if you think about that bias was built up over 6 games. So 6 times 13, 6 times 10 is 60. So you're up relative to about 78, close to 80, favors the Panthers. That's a big time score.
It is.
What do you got?
It is, but I believe that that's been built up over those early weeks when the competition wasn't as tough for the Panthers. I believe that their defense is beginning to struggle because they're not getting the offensive production that they've expected out of Sam Darnold. And I believe that the Giants, although they have not been winning, have showed that they can be formidable at times. They're sticking to their plan. It might not always work and turn into a victory, but they're sticking to their plan. They're running the ball. They're trying to limit Daniel Jones, but they're also letting him open it up every once in a while. Their defense is not playing as well as I expected them to, and as well as I wished that they were. But there's a possibility that they could improve. I'm going to take the Giants. Again, let me remind everybody, this is my squad, and I have gone against them. And when I pick them, I don't think this one's going to be, people might consider this an upset. I think the Giants are better than the Panthers. I think the Giants will beat the Panthers, not handily. It's going to be a good game, but I expect the Giants to come out on top in this one. No, there's no question in my mind the Giants will win this game.
Why does the song "Fool for Love"?
I just got finished saying I'm not taking them because it's my team. I truly believe they will win this game.
Okay.
You don't believe me.
Not at all. But I will say this much. The fact is, we did think the Panthers were going to do much bigger things than what they actually wound up doing. So,
and there's a clear blueprint to beating the Panthers. It's clear. It's crystal clear. Get up in Darnold's job, and he'll give it away.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on Darnold and his jock.
I'm sorry. If I had said that in front of the young guys on my flag team, they'd be like, "Coach, pause."
You know what I mean? Great easy, Coach. All right. This is a contender for intriguing game of the week right here.
A contender, but not the game.
Well, I think this was pretty much it, but then something happened, and I looked at another game, and I was
no.
Wait a minute.
So definitively, you had picked your intriguing game of the week.
Oh, it was definitive up to the point where I looked at the other game. Then it was no longer definitive.
Oh, man, I was so proud of you. I really was.
Anyway, Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens. Bias plus score of 1.6 favors the Baltimore Ravens. That ain't that big. That's under 18 if you looked at it on the gross scale. Cincinnati playing good ball. Ravens playing good ball. When I look at the numbers, Cincinnati is ranked 8th in average net points, and Baltimore is ranked 6th at 7.8, and Cincinnati 6.2. So you can see how close they are relative to their net points and averages. Cincinnati's ranked 12th on offense. Defensively, the Ravens are ranked 7th. Offensively, the Ravens are also ranked 7th, but defensively, Cincinnati's ranked 5th. So,
whoa. The Bengals are at 5th in points against?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. 18.3 points, 18.5 points per game, sandwiched between Denver and Carolina on average points against.
All right. I just wrote something down. I'm scribbling it out. Trap game for the Ravens. I'm taking the Bengals.
You're taking the Bengals?
I'm taking the Bengals.
Oh my
Bengals gonna go into Baltimore. You can't stop him. Talking about Lamar, you cannot stop him. You can only hope to contain him. But I think the Bengals will contain him enough, and Joe Burrow will have enough success. And the Baltimore Ravens defense is not real great against the run, and Joe Mixon's heating up. I'm going with the Bengals, man. I'm going with the Bengals.
Wow, going with the Bengals.
I'm taking them. That'll be my upset special of the week.
Philadelphia Eagles at Las Vegas Raiders. Bias plus score 3.3 favors the Las Vegas Raiders. Beautiful stadium. Not going to be cold. It is Vegas.
Yeah, this game's a big deal for Eagles fans. There's a lot of trips being sponsored. One's being sponsored, I think, by the radio station, the Fanatic.
Oh, was it IP?
No, not IP, 97.5.
Oh, yeah, the Fanatic, right.
I mean, IP might be having one too, but I happen to listen to Fanatic right now. And
okay.
They're going to be shuttling a bunch of people out there for this game. It's a game they feel like they can win. It's also Las Vegas. You know, they got a whole bunch of drinking and parties and shows, and they're going to make a whole big weekend out of it. I think that's great. That being said, the Raiders are a nice little favorite here. Looks like a field goal. I think this game will probably come down to just that. Right now, the Raiders offense is head and shoulders above the Eagles offense. But defensively, I believe the Raiders defense is better than the Eagles defense, but not head and shoulders better. The Eagles play hard. They're one of the hardest playing teams out there. I got to give them that. People think because I'm not an Eagles fan, I live in Philadelphia, that I'm some kind of hater or something. I am not, okay? I love Jalen Hurts. I think he's a warrior, like I said earlier. I think the Eagles always play hard. I never see them give up, no matter what the score is. For that reason, I think they're going to come out to Vegas. They're going to believe that they can win this game, and they're going to keep it close. This might be overtime. This might be a game-winning field goal at the end. Could go either way. I am going to go with the bias, and I'm going to take the Raiders. But this could be a really good game.
Going with the Raiders, going with the bias. All right, here we go. Next up, those Detroit Lions at the LA Rams. Goff's going back. Bias plus score 19.9 favors the LA Rams. And the Lions have just been snake bit. So, you know, between that and obvious poor play at times, what do you say?
I say take the Rams on this one. This was pretty easy. The Lions have nothing that could come even close to making them competitive in this game. Jared Goff is probably going to end up being really embarrassed. This one could get extremely ugly. Extremely ugly.
I'm just having a thought here. Is this the first time Goff has to face what's the defensive tackle for the Rams?
Aaron Donald. Oh, yeah, because in practice, they wouldn't let him touch him. And you know what? I've heard a lot of defensive linemen, especially real pass rushers, talk about the frustration of going after their own quarterback in practice and knowing that they can't touch him. He's got the red jersey on, and they're doing all their best moves, and they're beating the guy that's trying to block them. And they're like, oh, man, I got this. And then they can't touch him. Yeah.
Wow.
No red jersey for you today, bud.
No red jersey for you, buddy. Detroit Lions not favored. Rams favored by 19.9 bias plus score. Okay. Houston Texans at the Arizona Cardinals. Bias plus score 29.3 favors the Arizona Cardinals. Again, that's just under 30 times 6 would be about 180. Can Houston do anything with this Cardinals group? And let me ask you a quick question. I know I said when my Niners played them, and I did it virtually, I played them on Madden. One side you had J.J. Watts, the other side you had Chandler Jones. But I think Chandler Jones, is he hurt now? You might know that better than me.
I think he was dinged up last week. He might be okay this week. I have to double check.
Okay, because they just make anything off the edges so difficult with those two guys. And so Houston's going to have to figure out what they're going to do relative to how they're going to attack that defense. What do you have on this?
I mean, I wouldn't use the words figure out. I'm sure they'll come in with a plan, but it's not going to do them any good. The Cardinals are so much better than them in all three phases. I mean, they're pros, they get paid, so they got to show up. But that's all I can say about that. Cardinals all day on this one. Again, could get ugly.
Could get ugly. All right. Well, if you see Kyler Murray in his what kind of pose is that where he's sitting down on the ground? He's got
the Buddha thing or
Buddha
whatever.
thing. Is that what it is? So it's over. Done deal. Chicago Bears. Oh, snap. They got to go down and deal with them Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bias plus score of 13 favors the Buccaneers. Justin Fields is getting his chance to taste the NFL for real. But, hey, look.
I'm real disappointed. I'm real disappointed in the Bucs defense, to tell you the truth, because the guys that have been hurt, we're going on weeks now that they've been hurt and they've been replaced by these other guys. And I don't see an uptick in the way that they're actually playing defense. So I'm a little disappointed with that. That being said, this might be a game where a nice conservative, long drive type, game managing type offensive plan for the Chicago Bears could actually be somewhat successful. I don't think they're going to win the game. I'm going to take the Buccaneers with no problem. I'm just saying Justin Fields could see a little bit of success in this game unless Tampa Bay really comes to play against the run. They take the run away, and then the Bears, the wheels will fall off. The Bears will be done. If they run them a little bit, Justin Fields might be able to make some progress. Other than that, no. But take the Bucs all the way, no problem.
What you call a learning experience.
Every game's a learning experience for him now, yes.
This is going to be a big one for Justin Fields, I have a feeling. All right. Indianapolis Colts at San Francisco 49ers. Bias plus score 3.9 favors the Indianapolis Colts. So the Niners are scheduled to play the Colts. And as you know, I try to play the team in Madden. So I try to do a virtual scenario. And my Niners, I run now with Trey Lance. Him and Garoppolo are both rated 74 on the game. So I'm not giving up a whole bunch. But it was a really tough game. And this is the end of the game that I'm just showing you here. So you see 204 yards passing, no touchdowns. Niners came out on top. Benny, this was a double overtime game. This was a double overtime game that I had to stick to my running back or my running game roots. I told you that I was going to move from All Pro to Madden. So I made that move, right? Remember when I said you have to be good enough to beat the cheat? Well, first of all, when the clock is running down on your first overtime and the ball has changed possession already, right? My thought is that you can kick, if it's like 3 seconds left in the overtime and you kick the field goal, you win. That's what my thought was. What happens? You go to another overtime. The other team gets a chance to get the ball. At least that's what the game did to me.
It's not really another overtime. In other words, you go to overtime, you have a set amount of time. I believe it's like a quarter. If you get the ball and you score a touchdown, the game is over. If you get the ball and you don't score or you kick a field goal, the other team gets an opportunity. Now, if they kick a field goal and you kick a field goal and there's time left, then the game keeps going. But if they stop you and they kick a field goal, then they win.
Well, this is where the game cheated me. So the clock's running down on the overtime period. I'm lined up for 30 plus, maybe a little more, close to a 40-some yard field goal, right? I'm thinking I'm going to win the game. This is when the game kicks in video distortions. What you're seeing. Literally, what happens is normally you go to kick the ball, you have the little meter that goes up, comes down. Yeah. You're looking, you can line it up, boom, you kick the ball, right? Well, that whole lineup procedure, when the game wants to cheat you, it fades away. The meter goes up, and then as it's coming down, the meter disappears, and you just have this picture, this wide shot of what's in front of you, and you have to guess where to stop it in order to get an accurate kick. I've actually gotten pretty good at it, but I missed it. And it went to the second period overtime. And we wound up playing again. I win the game running the ball. I get down to a point where it's time to kick the field goal again. But I run this ball right to the 3-yard line, dead center. I'm like, you can cheat me if you want to, but I'm not missing this field goal. I don't care what kind of video shenanigans the game goes through. It's crazy, but yes, I won that game. It was close. It was a tough game, but the Colts are favored in this particular real life matchup. All right. I said,
you don't know how difficult it is for me to not say what I want to say. So what I'm going to say is the Colts are playing pretty well, but Wentz still has his issues. If the 49ers can figure out a way to slow down Jonathan Taylor, I believe that they can win this game. Although the Colts are favored, although the bias is in their favor, I like Shanahan coming off the bye. So I'm going to go with your boys. I'm picking the 49ers.
Do you know the health of Mitchell, running back for the Niners?
Elijah Mitchell should be as close to 100% as he's going to get.
He's the running back that I lean on. So
yeah,
if he's there, then the Niners run game can work,
Yes, Trey Sermon has been a big disappointment to me.
There's another guy named Cannon on the depth chart who's fast.
Yeah, but they're not giving him a shot.
Not so far, but guess who's my backup now behind Mitchell? It's Cannon. So I'm keeping an eye on those guys. All right, Benny, I hope you're right. I'm rooting for my San Francisco 49ers. Next up, Seattle Seahawks at New Orleans Saints. We talked a lot about both of these teams.
I think Gino's been doing an admirable job. Seattle's defense obviously is not very good. New Orleans has had flashes of being a really good team and being an okay team. But each week, Jameis gets a little bit better, a little bit more familiar with his play callers, the receivers that are out there. Each week, they get a little bit better, get a little bit more confidence. This one's in New Orleans, correct?
Seattle.
Oh, it's in Seattle. Oh.
Monday night, baby. And I didn't mention that San Francisco Colts game is Sunday night.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I had to rewrite that because I put Seahawks first, and I like to keep everything nice and in order when I'm making my notes. But I am going to go with the Seattle Seahawks on this one. Is that what the bias says? Bias is for the Saints. I'm going against the bias. I'm going to go with the Seahawks.
All right, going with the Seahawks on this.
Yeah, big game by Gino. Pretty good game by Alex Collins, who's sitting in for Chris Carson. Lockett's been quiet for the last couple of weeks. I expect him to explode on this one.
Yeah, Gino versus Jameis as your two starting quarterbacks here. And you believe a little more in Gino than Jameis. That's what I'm hearing.
I believe a little bit more in the Seahawks than I do the Saints. I think Gino will play well. He's a backup quarterback. Jameis is a starter.
Defensively, they're both very cool. Wait a minute.
No, Saints are better.
Saints are way better. Saints are better defensively. And the Saints are better offensively. Up to
not by that much.
Okay. All right. Discounting the success the Saints have had and going with the Seahawks to round out the Bias Plus report for this. And Benny, we like to congratulate the Bias Plus Buster of the week for week 6. We're talking about the Tennessee Titans, who had an unfavorable Bias Plus score of 120.
Not surprised.
And won by +3, giving them a Bias Plus Buster score of 123. Congratulations to the Tennessee Titans. And they should be thanking the coaching decisions of the Bills, I think. All right.
I'm not going to say nothing. Okay, so just as a fantasy note, this week 7 is a bye week for a number of good teams and a bigger number of really, really good players. So if you have players on these teams, you're going to be hard pressed in your games this week because you're going to be missing some major talent. The teams that are on the bye this week, week 7, is the Buffalo Bills, the Dallas Cowboys, the Minnesota Vikings, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Los Angeles Chargers, and Jacksonville. This is crazy, okay? That means you are missing the likes of Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Dawson Knox, Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott, Tony Pollard, Mari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Schultz, Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson. These are all players that are carrying people's fantasy teams. They will all be off this week. So hopefully you prepared ahead. Hopefully you scan the waiver wire to find other players that you can put into your lineups this week to take these guys' places. And if you're lucky, get you a win without your studs before they come back in week 8. So good luck with that.
Fantasy alert, fantasy alert. All right, this leads us into the final portion of the show. This leads us into current events, where we go to the Ben and Barry on Football Facebook page. I bet you can't say that 5 times fast. And look at the stuff that's already been posted. Again, go to the Ben and Barry on Facebook page and leave your comments. We'd love to include them in the discussion. All right, Benny, I just want to give you a chance to talk about Chase Young honoring Sean Taylor with the tape face mask.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. Sean Taylor's jersey, I think, is going to be retired, and/or he's going to be put into the Washington football team's Ring of Honor. He's already in the Ring of Honor, to tell you the truth. They're going to they're retiring the jersey, right?
I think that was it.
Yeah, this is a retirement of the jersey celebration, which is great. Sean Taylor was a great player. Passed away far too soon. Was actually murdered in his own home. I think it's a good thing that Chase Young, such a young player, is giving out his own little tribute to Sean Taylor, and by putting the tape on the mask to make it look like it's his face mask is striped, is something that Sean Taylor used to do. So I thought that was pretty neat. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
All righty. All righty. Let's roll up. David Baker's retiring.
I did not watch his retirement speech. Did you?
No, I didn't watch his retirement speech. I just always am amazed at the size of this guy.
He's a big dude.
That's a big guy knocking on the door. Now clarify for me this, Benny, because this whole door knocking thing.
Yes.
Are all of the potential Hall of Famers, are they all in like a hotel or something, waiting to hear if they get the door knock?
Yeah, it used to be like that, but after COVID, he was going to people's houses.
Okay, because I can't imagine being like in that hotel waiting to see if a knock happens.
And the knock doesn't come.
It don't happen.
That's the way it was, yes.
Oh, man.
It was.
All right. Well, he was.
That's when they narrowed down the finalists, is what happens.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And I was wondering, I didn't really look too far into this, but the first thing that came to my head, and this may or may not be fair to say, but first thing that came into my head was better check his emails.
Are you referring to the scandals?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Jeez. Well, do you remember him as a player at all?
No, I do not.
Okay. I didn't either, but he looks big enough to have played, so I'm assuming he did. All right, let's roll up real quick. Ben, brain farts happen. This was a learning situation. Did you see this video at all?
Your coach assumes that a player knows what's going on. You can't assume. You never assume.
So rather than spike the ball, he took a knee.
Right, which does not
do something special. And not understanding the situation. Football is so situational. I just feel so sorry for him.
The bottom line is, in order to get off the field, to place the ball where you want it on the field and get off the field so your field goal kicker can come in and win the game for you, you must stop the clock. Taking a knee does not stop the clock.
That's the exact opposite. And in the right situation, if that's what you want, then that's what you do. You take a knee. But again, a learning situation with a young guy, oh man, you got to feel for him. And you never know. You don't know what the coach has said. Maybe some confused coach gave him
No,
bad.
the coach didn't say anything. That's what I think.
Oh, you think
I
the coach
think the coach
left him out there on his own?
he left him out there on his own, assuming that he knew that the clock only stops on incomplete passes, which a clocking of the ball is considered.
Okay, all
Taking
right.
the knee, taking a knee is the same as running and getting tackled in bounds. The clock does not stop. What football player doesn't know that?
Beside that guy?
Besides that guy, yeah. But that's why you have coaches. Coaches are supposed to take that assumption out. You're supposed to say what seems and feels like the obvious
That's right. Don't let
and
the
remind
obvious
him.
go
Clock it, clock. You can shout it out. And we don't have sound. Maybe he did. But you got to say, clock it, clock it, clock it. And you make the throwing down motion. You get his attention. Johnny, Johnny, clock it, clock it. That's all he had to do. That's all he had to do. That's it. Nothing more.
Putting this on the coach, right?
Yes.
All right. That's where it belongs. This piece, we're looking at what the NFL is doing about COVID. I'm not going to go deeply into this. We mentioned this earlier in the show. This was an opportunity for the NFL to work with the CDC, Center for Disease Control, and show how their protocols have been successful. The NFL was very successful in managing COVID outbreaks, keeping COVID from becoming a major problem with the players. Of course, it gets in, but using testing, using vaccination, and using other common sense procedures, they've done a great job, and they wanted to put that information out to the CDC so that it could be used in society when thinking about how to protect yourself from what's going on with the COVID virus. And again, they're paying these guys millions and millions of dollars. So, they're protecting their investment in the best way that they know how. And I think when you know how someone values something, how the NFL values their players or the contracts that they're playing on, however you want to look at it, they're doing the best that they can. And so this is the best of the best in terms of that. So you can go to Ben and Barry on football and and read what the NFL is actually doing. Any word on that, Benny?
No.
All right. I was just being snarky.
Yeah, I figured that.
But Tom Brady is the master of the quarterback sneak. And one thing I noticed when I looked at the replay of the Bills, they started out like in a shotgun and then kind of moved up to the line of scrimmage for the quarterback sneak, which is kind of cool that, they kind of set up in one formation and then move to the other formation. I like to do that. And then he slipped. Tom Brady just knows how to dig right in and tunnel right up under there with that 6'5" frame. And what did we say last week? I think it was that he was celebrating 1,000 yards rushing.
That was last season. I think he did that.
Okay, but that was for his career.
Yes. He had 1,000 yards for his career. Most of them on quarterback sneaks. In fact, I'd be curious to see, you're real good at looking up stuff real fast. I'd be real curious to find out what is Tom Brady's career longest run from scrimmage.
Oh, career longest run, not his average.
No, one run, his longest run. How far did it go?
That might have happened recently with the Bucks. I remember he took off one time with the Bucks.
He got like 20 yards, maybe, something like that.
Something like that. But it says here Brady's longest career came against the Bengals in 2006, a 22-yard first down scramble.
What did I say? What did I say? His longest run of his career was 22 yards, and he had 1,000 yards plus for his career. That's amazing.
What's even more amazing is that there's a video here of the top 5 longest runs by Tom Brady.
And they're all 22 yards or less.
Or less. All right. We've been very big proponents of Deion Sanders and what he's been doing as far as the HBCUs and what he's trying to do as far as the African American community and helping in a lot of different ways. And Deion is quoted here saying, "We got to stop the killing." He pleased the Jackson residents after their homecoming win. So apparently Jackson is having some of the same issues urban Americans having. And I just said, thanks, Deion. Let's talk about the culture of gangsterism, thugism, and the type of people who are killing at random in our community. And I really think that we're not focused enough on who these people are and why they're doing what they're doing. The average person is walking around like, we don't really know who these people are, but they're picking them up. They're booking them in many cases. Many cases they're not. In too many cases they're not. But I think that the community needs to know what's going on a little bit more. And I also think, and this was kind of interesting, we were sharing some pictures of my grandson, and he had one picture, and Kia said something about thug life, and Chris was like, no thugs in this family. she just in that little texting back and forth. And I was so proud. I jumped right on the bandwagon with her. It was like, we ain't even going there. Let's not even
joking.
We ain't even joking about that no more, because it's just too much happening. They're killing babies, young kids, and it's just completely stupid. And so, but I'm glad to see Deion reaching beyond Jackson State and talking about what's going on in the community as he attempts to build young men and build their character and prepare them for a professional next life. So I'm really happy about that. Anything on that?
I read this article. If it wasn't this specific one, it was one in reference to this game. And unfortunately, I'm getting old and my memory isn't what it used to be, but I believe that actually during this game, there was a killing in the city of Jackson while they were playing this game.
Really?
Jackson. And and it's a huge win, 28-7. It was homecoming. It was a bitter rival, Alabama State. And when he came to his post-game press conference, instead of talking about the game, that's what he talked about.
Wow.
Culture, the killing, what happened, what he heard, what he knew, and all that. So I could be wrong. Maybe it wasn't the same day. It might have been the day before or something. But for some reason, I think it happened during the game and somebody told him about it. And it had him, he was so concerned that he spent the majority of his post-game press conference talking about that and not the game.
Okay, go Deion. What do we have next? Let's move beyond this. Trade deadline is November 2nd.
There's one big deal on this one.
And who would that be?
Deshaun Watson. The Houston Texans are in serious negotiations with the Miami Dolphins. That's as of this morning. I haven't had the sound up on my television. I've been glancing. I can't remember seeing anything yet. But the word is that on November 2nd or before November 2nd, which is only weeks away, a deal will be made. There are other teams that have shown interest. Whether or not they're going to jump back in this thing, Eagles being one of them, I don't know. But right now, it looks like the Dolphins have the inside track. The Texans have softened their stance as far as what they want back in compensation for Watson. I think they're just fed up with this whole situation. And the Dolphins seem to be of the mindset that regardless of what happens to him, as far as these allegations against him are concerned, we're willing to take all that on and ride with him because we want him to be a Miami Dolphin. Now, what this does to Tua, I have no idea. Whether or not he might be part of the trade for all I know, and I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know what they're offering, and I don't know exactly what the Texans are asking for, but it's looking real serious like this deal is going to get made.
Something's got to be done, and they got to do it by the deadline. That's one thing deadlines do, it does make you move. All right. We talked about race norming during the summer. Race norming came up in the settlement, the concussion settlement that the NFL had with the players. And what race norming was, is that rather than sort of giving everybody an equal amount, they were divvying out money based on cognitive scores and how much they changed. And there was a presumption that the cognitive scores for African Americans were lower, so they were generally getting lower payouts. And that was sort of going on. It's amazing in this yin yang world how the NFL could be doing some of the best social work that they could do. I mean, really making strides socially while still proposing or attempting to maintain this race norming approach to settling on the concussions. Finally, they reached an agreement to end it with the Players Association and the former players, and I'm glad to see it. Most people probably had no idea what's happening. It was happening quietly in a courtroom somewhere. It's not one of those things on the field. And you didn't hear any of the current players talk about it, and I didn't hear a whole bunch on any of the sports shows either. Nope. So again, we were on top of things when it was popping, and glad to see that it's now over. Just for the education of it, I posted this article explaining the waiver wire and how this stuff actually happens. And in this particular case, they were applying it to the Patriots. But you know, there's so much to all of this all of this stuff in the NFL when it comes to trading and, you know, moving people from place to place and all the different situations that people would come in, whether they're going to qualify for the waiver wire, whether they're, you know, they've got what is it when you've been at a company for a certain amount of time and you get, what's the word? You qualify for benefits and stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tenure.
Blank that. Tenure.
Tenure. Yes, you get tenure. So that was that. Okay, this was fun. Ben, do you have a new respect for Michael Hyde now? Micah Hyde.
First of all, there's nothing fun about this.
Why are you laughing?
There's nothing fun about that as far as Micah Hyde is concerned. And I have always respected Micah Hyde. He has always proven himself to be somewhat of a big hitter, not, you know, a big hitter like some of the all-time guys, but he's not afraid to stick his nose in there. I think in this particular instance, he got caught looking down the gun barrel, but he did the best that he could, and he actually brought the man down. So kudos to him for that.
Hey, look, I'm telling you, man. I kept going, who is that guy? I had to find out who it was. Hey, I didn't know.
I've seen a lot worse business decisions than that.
That pretty much wraps up the current events portion of the show. It wraps up the Ben and Barry on football, where, Ben, you get the last word.
And the last word is, go Noles.